Hey, good morning, guys. It's Becky Bamboo. Today's Monday, November 22nd, 2010, and I'm really excited. This is my official week 21 post-op RNY gastric bypass update video. I just feel like it deserves a head tilt when you say it because it's like takes forever to get it out. Anyway, I'm in like one of those slap happy moods today. I'm so happy that I did my overtime over the weekend because our server's down today, which would make a very late night tonight if for those people who didn't work over the weekend. So yay, I actually made a good decision for once. It's amazing. Anyway, related to the weight loss front, I started this journey, for those of you who don't know or don't remember or don't care or do care, I don't know, whatever. I started at 424 pounds. Looking back at my original videos, I'm just still shocked. Like, it still amazes me every single day. It just shocks and amazes me. So, anyway, last week I weighed in at 293 pounds, which was a total loss of 131 pounds. This week I weighed in, and I did not think I was going to have a good weight loss this week, but I did, and I think I know why, so I want to discuss it. I weighed in today at 286 pounds, which was a 7-pound loss from last week, and a total of 138 pounds gone. You guys know I had a rough week last week. I really had a hard time with, I was so stressed last week. It was unbelievable. I didn't do the gym, but I did do a lot of physical moving. I was talking to my husband over the weekend, and we were trying to figure out, were we at home at all last week? And we remembered that we literally were gone every single night, evening last week. We went shopping, and we went shopping, and we went shopping some more. We were shopping for stuff for Christmas decorations, and nothing in particular for either one of us. Some of it was that we just wanted to get out and do something. So I'm getting bullied here by the cat. Anyway, so I think I did a lot of exercise without really going to the gym. And I think that's a good point to make, is that you don't necessarily have to go to the gym to still see weight loss. As long as you're active and you're moving and you're physical, and it's still exercise. I walked a ton in stores. I mean, at the mall, we went all over the place shopping. So I did do a lot of walking, and then this weekend I was on my feet all weekend. I worked Saturday morning, and then the entire rest of the day on Saturday I spent decorating my house. So it was lifting boxes, bending, getting up on chairs, getting off of chairs, a lot of really physical kind of stuff. And I literally didn't sit down the entire afternoon. I was up, and from the time I got off work until I think it was like a little after 8 in the evening. So I was definitely, from the time I started work until the time I was finished with decorating, I had put in like a 15-hour day. So it was kind of crazy. But, that's a lot of physical activity right there. Sunday, I spent the entire day baking. The entire day. So I was on my feet in the kitchen, moving around, all kinds of stuff. And I really think that combined with the fact that I knew early in the week I wasn't going to the gym, and I was really aware of what I was eating. And I think that makes all the difference in the world when you're paying attention to what you eat. And, I was still exercising even though I really didn't think I was. So I had a good week, and even if it's none of those things and it's just the fluke of magic weight loss related to gastric bypass, I'll take it. I'll take it every single time. That's the reason I had gastric bypass. I had a spell there where I had several weeks where I only had like 2 and 3 pound weight loss, and I really thought that I was kind of maybe reaching the end of my magic weight loss, and that I was just kind of going to taper off, and 2 and 3 pounds was all I was going to see. So to be back in the 5, 6, 7 range is really comforting, because I feel like, okay, well, I still have, this thing is still working for me. You know what I mean? So that's really fun. I'm very excited about that. So like I said, I did spend the weekend decorating and baking. I will do a video to show you guys my decorations. My house looks so cute. I'm so excited. My next door neighbor was like, so your house is looking really good, but it's kind of early, isn't it? So we were explaining to him that we are going on vacation next week and that we wanted to have it all up because when we get back, it's always a runaround trying to get your shopping done and everything wrapped and, all that kind of stuff. So he understood, and he was kind of, I think they were glad that we let him know we were going to be gone and all that kind of stuff, which I was going to do anyway. But anywho, I baked on Sunday, and I gotta tell you, I have been really kind of craving having a dessert of some sort, and it's not something I want every day or with every meal or anything like that, but I kind of haven't baked since before surgery, and this is the time of year I always really enjoy being in the kitchen. I don't know why, just the smells and comfort of doing holiday baking I just like it. So I just I'm really just amazed at what you can do with recipes and make them to where you can still enjoy the same things in kind of a different way. My mom has her kind of claim to fame, I guess you could say, is she has always made homemade cinnamon rolls. And she has done this for a long time. And growing up with that, I was fortunate enough because, I spent a good bit of time in the kitchen with my mom. She taught me how to cook and bake and everything else. And so cinnamon rolls, one of those things that I learned how to do. She taught me how to knead the dough and how to mix it and what you needed to do. And, I feel so thankful for that now because I don't know that there's too many other people in our family, if anybody else, that can adequately recreate her cinnamon rolls. But I can. I can do a pretty damn good job. I still say they're not as good as hers, but that just could be because, it's kind of like your mom and your grandma. You can never cook quite as good as they could. You know what I mean? Like, I'll never forget some of the stuff my grandma used to cook. And, never as good. You could just never recreate it the same. So anyway, I decided, Christmas is coming and Christmas is cinnamon roll time. And I really want to be able to have cinnamon rolls with my family on Christmas Day. And so I took her recipe and I altered it this weekend. And I made it into using Splenda instead of using sugar. And when it calls for cinnamon sugar, I use cinnamon Splenda. So I take Splenda and cinnamon and mix it together. And you know what? It worked. It's fine. The consistency of the dough is exactly the same. And that's the thing with making these cinnamon rolls. I could give you guys the recipe, but unless you know that feel of what it's supposed to be like, you'll never get it right. So it won't matter. So, the consistency and the feel and everything was right. They rose beautifully. They baked beautifully. They tasted terrific. The only real change I had to make aside from substituting the Splenda for sugar was the icing for the cinnamon rolls calls for, it's a powdered sugar icing. Well, obviously powdered sugar icing is not going to work because that would be like death. And Splenda is not the same consistency as powdered sugar, so you can't really just substitute it for that. I found online a cream cheese icing recipe, which actually came out very good. It's cream cheese, Splenda, butter, and vanilla. Just delicious. So that's what I used to ice my cinnamon rolls, and I just used a little tiny bit of it because I didn't want the cream cheesiness to come through so much. It's just a little bit of the sweetness and the kind of like a glaze to come through. So that's what I did. They came out fantastic, and you can tell a difference between that and the original recipe. They're not so ooey gooey like the ones with sugar get. So in that regard, they're not quite as good. But all in all, the taste is very, very similar, and my husband gobbled them up. He said, these are good. I wouldn't mind eating these. These would, I wouldn't be upset with eating these. So he's always like my true test because he is such a sugar junkie. He loves candy. He loves cakes. He loves brownies. He loves anything sweet. So when for this kind of stuff, I definitely use him as like the taste tester. How does this compare? Would you eat this instead of the other? That kind of stuff. And I actually made some chocolate chip cookies that were sugar-free this weekend too. My mother-in-law had brought me a bag of sugar-free chocolate chips, Hershey chocolate chips. And there's a recipe on the bag for sugar-free cookies. So I said, I'll give this a whirl. So I made them, and, surprisingly enough, the cookies come out, and they taste just exactly the same as regular chocolate chip cookies. And he said the same thing, that you just can't tell a difference between them. The consistency's the same. It was just really kind of cool. So for those of you interested in baking cookies for the holidays or anything like that, find the Hershey's sugar-free chocolate chips. There's the recipes on the bag of what you need. It was fine. I used Splenda in place of, well, I guess, it's the same recipe as the regular chocolate chip cookies, only they tell you to use like a substitute for the sugar and a substitute for the brown sugar, which they do make. They make, I looked at, there's several different kinds, so this is what you got to be aware of. Brown sugar substitutes come in Splenda, but it's a half and half mix. It's half sugar, or half brown sugar, half Splenda, I guess, and it's still extremely sugary. So that was out. For I think 1/2 of a teaspoon was 2 grams of sugar. Now, when you need a half a cup of brown sugar, that is a lot of a half a teaspoon. So it was like, I don't even remember how many grams of sugar it was. It was a lot when we figured it out. But then Sweet and Low makes one as well. That's like a brown sugar mix. And it's the same as the Splenda. It's got so many grams per half a teaspoon. But then there's something called Sugar Twin, which is like a no sugar substitute. They make just a regular one, and then they make a brown sugar one. And it's real light and powdery like what Splenda is. And so that's what I bought. It has no sugar in it, and I had no problems with it. So it's pretty exciting to me. The other thing I wanted to talk about is my mom, my wonderful mom. I love her so much. She found at a store sugar-free cake mixes and sugar-free icing for cake mixes. How cool is that? So that's something we're going to try over Thanksgiving at her house, and hopefully it'll taste great. I'll be anxious to report that to you guys. I think they're Pillsbury. I'm pretty sure they're Pillsbury sugar-free. So check those out in your local stores. She got them at a store called Meijer. My Shop and Save here didn't carry them, but I have 2 other grocery stores that I'm going to check out and see if they have them, and I'll let you guys know what I find. So I don't know. You don't have to give up your holiday baking and your holiday treats. And obviously, this is not something that I'm going to be like pigging out on cake or cookies or cinnamon rolls. In fact, last night after I baked the cinnamon rolls, I had 1 cinnamon roll and that was it. And it's just something that I crave every now and then. I just want something sweet. Most of the cinnamon rolls I froze so that I can reheat them throughout the year whenever I kind of get that craving for them. So, yeah, it's just, you don't have to give everything up. And I figure going to holidays at different people's houses, taking a dessert or taking cookies or taking something like that you know you're good to eat, it's kind of like a guilt-free way of incorporating that into, someone else's Thanksgiving. Like, for my mother-in-law, when we're there, I'm going to take the cookies with me. And that way, if everybody's having dessert, I can still have dessert, and I can know that this is not going to make me dump, or this is not going to make me sick, or, whatever the case is. So I don't know. I just want to encourage everybody to start tinkering in the kitchen a little bit more. So that's it for me. I got to get back to work. I hope you all have a fantastic week. It's a short work week, 3 days. So I don't know how my videos will be this week. I'm sure you won't see one from me on Thursday, maybe, but probably not. So yeah. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I don't know when I'll be back. Love you guys. Mwah.